Hi.
Hello there. We're on page 67 of the Proclaimer's book. There's a box, J.F. Rutherford's background. Here goes. Joseph Franklin Rutherford was born of Baptist parents on a farm in Morgan County, Missouri, USA, on November 8, 1869. When Joseph was 16, his father consented to his attending college, provided that he pay his own way and that he pay for a hired laborer to take his place on the farm. A determined young man, Joseph secured a loan from a friend and managed to go to college while also studying law. After completing his academy education, Rutherford spent 2 years under the tutelage of Judge E.I. Edwards. By the time he was 20, he became the official court reporter for the courts of the 14th Judicial Circuit in Missouri. On May 5, 1892, his license to practice law in Missouri was granted. Rutherford later served for 4 years as public prosecutor for Booneville, Missouri. Still later, he served on occasion as a special judge in the 8th Judicial Circuit Court of Missouri. That is why he came to be known as Judge Rutherford.
Interestingly, to help pay his way through school, Rutherford sold encyclopedias from house to house. It was not an easy job. There were many rebuffs. On one occasion, he almost died when he fell into an icy stream while calling on farms. He promised himself that when he became a lawyer, if anyone ever came to his office selling books, he would buy them. True to his word, he accepted 3 volumes of Millennial Dawn from 2 coal porters who appeared at his office early in 1894. Several weeks later, he read the books and promptly wrote a letter to the Watchtower Society, in which he said, quote, "My dear wife and myself have read these books with the keenest interest, and we consider it a godsend and a great blessing that we have had the opportunity to come in contact with them." End of quote. In 1906, Joseph F. Rutherford was baptized, and a year later he became the Watchtower Society's legal counsel.
Well, so what are Rutherford's qualifications for becoming the leader of what later became known, because he called it this, God's organization? And all that's listed here of his qualifications are that he had a legal education.
And he read Russell's books.
So is that the extent of his theological education? He read Russell's literature.
Well, I mean, the reason this box is here, it's supposed to give you his background. So, and the chapter is about him moving into being the president of the organization. So you would think if they're going to try and promote him, they're going to give everything they can of his qualifications. And, to me, being in legal education and reading Russell is not good enough qualifications for someone who's going to be the president of a religious organization.
Yeah. Why was he elevated? Well, if you look at the dates here, he's only baptized in 1906, even though he's been in contact with the organization since at least 1894. And then he becomes the legal representative just a year after he's baptized.
And then 10 years after that, he's taking over.
Yeah.
So to me, this even if he was the most qualified person, there would be somewhat of a problem here, because Paul advises never to lay hands hastily on a man. I think 1 year later, having him as your, in the higher ups of the organization is not a wise decision.
Now, it is true, if you know anything about the other people that were involved in the organization back then, none of them that I'm aware of had any real theological education. So that Rutherford had at least the knowledge of the legalities that you would need to protect the society from the bricks and and the criticisms that were being thrown at them by other people. But nobody had sufficient theological education.
Also, the fact that he is an occasional judge, hardly, I don't know how he got the name judge. I mean, I think he probably liked that name, or that nickname or title.
Even in the second paragraph, the word judge has quotation marks around it, as if they're admitting that it's not really.
It's not really true.
His status.
It's just he's adopted it. But I think the other thing that seemed a bit ironic when reading it is this letter that he sends, "My dear wife, when you know the history," that most of his adult life he was separated from his wife and his son, and that neither his wife nor his son attended his funeral, and there were all kinds of rumors attached to Rutherford of other women and of drink.
No, a lot of that has come to light, of course, since many of us left. We've been able to do more investigation, and some books have really laid out the facts, at least from the witnesses who were there, people who worked with Rutherford and for Rutherford. But even when he was alive, there were lots of rumors about his drinking and why he wasn't living at Bethel for years. He was living in California. There were a lot of rumors going around about that.
Yeah.
But the question that bothers me more than anything here is, according to the light we have in the New Testament, would Rutherford, and for that matter even Russell, qualify as elders according to the biblical standards?
Well, let's read what the standards are.
And this is from 1 Timothy, is it?
Yes, 1 Timothy 3, 1-7 gives qualifications.
And you have the
elders.
New King James? I have the ESV.
So mine says, "This is a faithful saying. If a man desires the position of a bishop, he desires a good work. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, temperate, sober-minded, of good behavior, hospitable, able to teach, not given to wine, not violent, not greedy for money, but gentle, not quarrelsome, not covetous, one who rules his own house well, having his children in submission with all reverence. For if a man does not know how to rule his own house, how will he take care of the church of God? Not a novice, lest being puffed up with pride, he fall into the same condemnation as the devil. Moreover, he must have a good testimony among those who are outside, lest he fall into reproach and the snare of the devil."
The ESV has, of course, overseer, where you have bishop. Bishop, of course, comes from episkopos, which is literally overseer in Greek. So this was the elders, the body of elders, as we would call them in the congregation. They were all overseers and all elders. But according to these qualifications, I have my... Well, I think he's just ruled out. He's ruled out in the first two verses. Above reproach. And as verse 6, not a recent convert, the ESV says.
Yeah.
And ruling over his own household? Well, if he doesn't have his family
not given to wine, not violent, gentle. I mean, I don't think you could say these were the characteristics of Rutherford.
No, you've done a video on this. He was accused by one of our Bible studies of being a maniac.
Yeah.
Based on a reaction to how he wrote.
Yeah. If you get a flavor of his writing style and the amount of hostility that comes off the page when you read, when he's talking about other people. Here, that would rule out 7 then. He's supposed to have a good testimony among those outside the organization or the church.
Respected, anyway.
Yeah.
Rutherford was less respected than Russell, and Russell wasn't enormously respected, but some people had kind things to say about him. I don't know of any quotes from outsiders about Rutherford's reign.
Yeah.
Yeah, except the accusations that there was something going wrong at the headquarters that involved money, that involved liquor, that involved
women.
Chicanery, I suppose, is an old-fashioned word, but it seems to apply.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not got better as more and more facts come out about his background and what was going on during those 2 decades that he was ruling the roost.
This portion that I just read continues with deacons, and it includes a statement that they should be found blameless.
Mm.
So
does he qualify as a deacon? Yeah.
Yeah, it has almost the same qualifications as the overseer.
Here's
does.
the Titus list.
Mm-hmm.
This is from the ESV as well. Qualifications for elders is the subhead. This is why I left you in Crete, so that you might put what remained into order and appoint elders in every town as I directed you. If anyone is above reproach, the husband of one wife, and his children are believers, and not open to the charge of debauchery or insubordination. For an overseer, as God's steward, must be above reproach. He must not be arrogant, or quick-tempered, or a drunkard, or violent, or greedy for gain, but hospitable, a lover of good, self-controlled, upright, holy, and disciplined. He must hold firmly to the trustworthy word as taught, so that he may be able to give instruction in sound doctrine, and also to rebuke those who contradict it.
Mm. So high qualifications.
Holding firmly to the word, though, is another
Mm-hmm.
thing that rules out Rutherford, especially because of his addiction to typology, which now the Watchtower is completely abandoned.
Mm.
It was by the types and antitypes that he separated his flock from everybody else in Christendom.
Mm.
Russell did some of that, but most people do some of that. But Rutherford is the one who cleanly separated God's organization from everybody else.
Mm.
No, he was not qualified to teach.
Mm-hmm.
That's prime consideration. If you're going to shepherd God's flock, you have to be qualified to lead them and show them where the true food is.
Mm-hmm.
So what are our links?
We had a video of Rutherford's disparagement of marriage, and he's famous for having said that women were a hank of hair and a bag of bones, I think was the phrase.
And that was in the context, I think he did it in the last year of his life. Don't get married now, because
we're just about at the end.
So why would you attach yourself to a hank of hair and a bag of bones?
Yeah.
Would it be fair to say he thought very little of the married state?
From his lifestyle, you would think so too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Quite. See you soon.
Yeah.